we will have one of my favorite topics, which is phishing, which is the ways that people get basically fooled. And with that, they got everything they can do. So, Luda, you are the next one. Good luck.
Okay. Hello, my name is Luda Lazar. I'm working in Perva for 5.5 years. I'm a researcher in the security team. In this research, our intent was to learn more about tools and techniques used by phishers, and particularly about phishing kits, which are packages that contain complete phishing pages in easy-to-deploy format. In this talk, I will explain how easy and quick is to set up a phishing campaign using a phishing kit. I will present an examples of phishing kits and their main capability, and show a statistical and clustering analysis of our collection of phishing kits. So how to set up a phishing campaign in 60 seconds? To achieve this goal, we will need the following components. Phishing kit, which include the necessary files to create a copy of target websites and steal information from the victims. Compromised server, or hosting services to host the phishing pages, spam service or server, which allows to send a massive amount of phishing emails to the potential victims, and last one, the email list for spamming, which price depends on targets, country, and freshness. Each of these components can be easily purchased on the black market. In previous researches, we focused on other components of phishing infrastructure such as compromised servers. In this research, we will focus on phishing kits, on understanding their main capabilities, where they come from, and their effect on the phishing market. The following flow demonstrates a standard phishing attack using a phishing kit. First of all, the attacker buys a compromised server and uploads the phishing kit to the server. Then, he uses a spam service to send a burst of emails to the potential victims. The victims who fall into the phishing trap visit phishing pages and enter their credentials, and then the phishing kit is processing the credentials and send them to an external email account of the attacker. Finally, the attacker accesses the email account and harvests the new credentials he achieved. After I explained a basic flow of phishing attacks based on phishing kit, I will explain the high-level flow of our research. The first phase of research is to find a source for phishing pages and their kits. We use two different sources: OpenPhishFeed for the 0-day phishing sites, and techhelplist.com for paste for long-lived phishing sites. In the second phase of research, we develop a kind of scraper, a tool which gets the list of URLs and retrieve the phishing kits from the backend of the phishing server. The third stage was retrieval and normalization of extracted features that characterize the phishing kit. Next stage was a statistical analysis and clustering of extracted features. And last one is, of course, attaining the conclusions. From both sources, we collected more than 1,000 of phishing kits. From Open Fish Feed, we collected about 600 of kits, which are 7% of all checked URLs. From techhelplist.com, we collected more than 400 samples, 400 kits, which are about almost 10% of all checked URLs. From the above, we can see a bias in coverage to unexperienced fishers who leave their kits on the compromised server. Now I will show a structure of phishing kits and an example of Google Doc phishing kit. The phishing kit contained two types of files: resource files, which needed to display a copy of phishing of target websites, and a processing scripts, which are used to save and send the stolen data to the attackers. The following is an example of common Google Doc kits, which is about 15% of our collection of kits. The resource files contain figures and CSS password validation script, where the processing files contain a code which stores and sends the credentials to the attacker. The majority of phishing kits contain all resources that needed to replicate the target website. This minimizes the number of requests the kit issues to the legitimate site, and thus minimizes the chances of being detected by a target site which analyzes the incoming requests. The following is a processing code of Google Docs. The first part checks which email provider was selected by victim. Then it retrieves victim details such as browser, IP address, and using the IP address is resolved the geolocation of victim. The next part is a building of a phishing result email message. Interesting that the processing code is signed by signature nobody, which appears about 70 times in our collection. The phishing results message contains the email provider, email and password of victims, the IP address, and his geolocation. If the result message is exfiltrated in two ways, it's written to a log file on the server, and it's sent to an external email account of the attacker, which we assume is a buyer of the kit. If Gmail is a provider the victim chooses, the victim will be redirected to next page, verification PHP, which will lure the victim enter additional details such as his phone number or a recovery email address. The last part of code is redirects the victim to legitimate page of Google Drive in order to avoid suspicions of victims. After we saw an example of Google Doc phishing kit, I will present the main capability of the kits. One of the main functions of phishing kits is automatically send the collected credentials or valuable data to the attacker. The vast majority of kits uses email accounts to send the data to attackers. Only 2% of kits save the collected data on the server locally in log file or in a local database. But what happens when you steal from a thief? About 25% of kits contains implicit recipients which receive emails with the phishing results as well as the intended ones. We assume that hidden addresses belong to the attacker, to the author of kits, sorry. This is probably the main reason that phishing kits are distributed for free in the underground community. We saw multiple techniques to hide the author's email address, but the popular few are address obfuscation, and repeated mail statements that leverage the fact PHP is case sensitive for variable names. Thus, the apparently repeated email statements have actually two different recipients. 70% of phishing kits contain technique to block unwanted access to their phishing kits in order to avoid detection by security companies and search agents. Some of the techniques include htaccess file with a list of block IP addresses related to search engines and security companies, robots.txt used to prevent bots from access specific remote directories, and PHP scripts which dynamically checks if remote host is allowed to access the phishing pages. 30% of phishing kits contain a blacklist evasion techniques, which is used to redirect each new victim to a newly generated random location. The last part of the presentation contains a statistical and clustering analysis of our collection of phishing kits. First of all, let's describe our research method. We extracted features that characterize the phishing kit and made statistical analysis of them. Then we performed clustering on the extracted features. The features we choose is list of files that contain in phishing kit, author signature from the processing file, subject and sender of phishing result email. In our clustering, every cluster of kits has at least one common feature in common. We use a naive distance function that sets 0 if two kits have at least one common feature and one otherwise. The following is a statistic analysis of author signatures. From all analyzed kits, we extracted 271 author signature, when 32% of signature contains and didn't contain any author signature. 17% of kits contained a unique signature, and the half of kits contained non-unique signature. The most popular author we see, it's nobody. It appears about 7% of in 7% of kits. The second popular author is fattool.com, which appears in 2% of our kits. We searched for fattool.com and found few interesting sites. This author publishes different tools, hosting services, and phishing pages for money and for free. The following is a statistical analysis of the kits buyers. From analyzed kits, we extracted 715 distinct buyers. 16% of buyers purchased two different kits. It covers 24% of all kits. 5% of buyers appears in 3 different kits. It represents 9% of all kits. We noticed that a quarter of phishers use several phishing kits, most likely to maximize their potential profit. The following is a clustering analysis of extracted features. More than half of kits is grouped in 19 big clusters, which size is greater or equals than 10. 72% of kits is clustered in medium clusters. The following graph demonstrates the clustering of the deployment kits. The blue dots are phishing kits when the purple is a cluster identifiers. The largest cluster contains 153 kits. The second largest cluster contains 78 78 kids, and the third cluster contains 66 kids. The interesting that almost a third of the kids belong to 3 large clusters. This means that phishing kits come from the restricted number of sources. Based on the clustering results, we can conclude about half of kits were created by a small group of experienced phishers, and more than a third of these kits contain an implicit recipients, which are probably the kit authors. This might explain the motivation of phishers to distribute free phishing kits in the underground community. The following chart demonstrates that phishing targets 2 classes of victims: direct victims of phishing, which valuable information is stolen, and unexperienced phishers who deploy them. It happens in 3 steps. Experienced phishers distribute phishing kits to newcomers. Newcomers deploy these kits and steal valuable information from users. And experienced phishers, which finally steal from newcomers and took all the information, all the information and experienced phishers collected. We can conclude that phishing threat is here to stay. Phishing is still a significant and effective threat to cybersecurity. We noticed that underground circles transformed to for-profit organizations which ruled by the same economical principles like legitimate ecosystems, in which more experienced users taking advantage of newcomers. And the veteran players try to minimize the effort and risks associated with deploying and attracting the victims, and maximize the return of investment by harvesting the word of newcomers. That's it.